Okay, good evening and welcome to council Monday, October 24th, 2016. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. And as always, we start off the council meeting with a municipal safety share. Councillor Stone is going to give us an overview of Halloween safety and safety tips. Councillor Stone.
So yeah, it's important to stay safe when out trick-or-treating. So what you have to remember is to cross streets at corners and at traffic signals and crosswalks. Make sure you look both ways before crossing the street, and just keep your eye out for traffic. If there's a car waiting for you to pass, make sure you make eye contact when you notice you're going to walk by. Watch for cars coming out of driveways and coming around corners and stuff. It is quite dark out, and you should watch for that. Always use the sidewalks most possible. Walk, if you can't, walk facing traffic as far as to the left as possible, so you can avoid much accidents. And try to pick good routes that you won't interfere with traffic too much. Children under the age of 12 should have some adult supervision when out trick-or-treating. If you're over the age of 12 and trick-or-treating, make sure you have a planned route and you know where your kid will be going. One thing that you should keep in mind is to keep your costumes really nice but at the same time safe. Make them easy to see, having reflective tape, choose bright colors and stuff, something to make you stand out. And you should also make sure you have face paint instead of masks, just because masks can obstruct your view more. And if you can have your kid carrying a glow stick, flashlight, something so drivers can see them. And make sure your costume isn't a tripping hazard, so you won't be stumbling and stuff. For drivers, you should slow down in residential areas because Halloween will be quite busy. Take extra time to look for kids and around curbs and just all around the streets and stuff. When entering and exit driveways or alleyways, just go extra slow. Try to avoid as much distractions as possible when driving, just to lower the risk. And Halloween will most likely be going on around like 5:30 and 9:30, so around then you should definitely be more vigilant. And maybe put your traffic lights headlights on a bit earlier so people can see you. So yeah.
Great. Thanks for that, Councillor Stone. And as always, we want the kids to have a good time and a safe night and get home, and hopefully it's no rain this year and no snow, so hopefully all will enjoy. Okay, any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, Your Honor, Your Worship, sorry, Your Honor.
That's okay.
Your Worship, have the Crime Prevention Week proclamation.
Okay.
14D.
Okay. And I have one under verbal under council, just a letter we received from individual traveling through. So that'll be under council report C. Anything else? Okay, hearing none. I do have a motion here that council hereby accept the agenda for Monday, October 24th, 2016, regular meeting of council as circular amended. Moved by Councillor Lake, seconded by Councillor Debussy. Any questions? Hearing none. Call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any disclosure of interest? Hearing none. I do have a motion here that council hereby adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, October the 11th, 2016, the closed meetings of council held on Tuesday, October the 11th, 2016, as well as Monday, October the 17th, 2016, as circulated or amended. Moved by Councillor Fox, second by Councillor Lake. Any questions of those minutes? Hearing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, this evening we have our second student counselor to be sworn in. Jaylene Bowman is here tonight, and Jaylene is going to get up in front with our deputy clerk and go over the swearing in process. And after that, we'll all come up and do a quick picture with you, so if you don't mind.
I, Jaylene Bowman, having been appointed to the office of student counselor in the municipality of Marathon, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, or the reigning sovereign for the time being. And I make this solemn promise and declaration consciously believing it to be true and knowing that it is the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Welcome to council. Congratulations. Your first political picture. You have to go on the other side now.
Sam, come right beside you there.
Student counselor.
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That's twice tonight.
Yeah.
You got that sheet?
Oh, maybe you should go back to your email.
No.
Louise, come on in.
No, you swore her in.
Yes, come on, Louise. Come on, Louise.
Which side?
Oh, yes, you get right in between, yeah, over there. Now you go.
How's that?
Hold on to it, Louise.
What's that?
Hold on to it. Oh, look at that. Okay, Michael. Everybody look at me. Very good. I'll take one more. Did you see it? Oh, that's okay. I do that all the time. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night. So welcome aboard, Jaylene, and hopefully you'll enjoy your full year with us here on council, and we look forward to having you and participating with us throughout the year. And as always, we try to encourage our student councilors to participate in the spring NOMA AGM, which is usually in Thunder Bay, Ontario, so plan ahead for that. We'll give you the exact dates once we get closer to it, and we'll encourage you and Michael, Councillor Stone, to come on up and participate in that. It's a good learning experience as well, so thank you and welcome aboard. Okay. This evening we have a couple reports. Report on appointment to boards, the Economic Development Corporation. Mr. Hiska? Oh, yeah, I thought he would just highlight that, and I could do it if you want, so.
I can, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, appointments to committee. Pursuant to the municipality, the mayor is bringing forward this report to the appointment of council members. Economic Development Corporation.
It's a report on appointments to boards as well as the ATV committee that we talked about over the last And Mr. Hirsch, give us an overview of that.
Subject is appointments to committee. Pursuant to the municipality's procedural bylaw, the mayor is bringing forward this report on the appointment of council members and residents to the town's committees and boards. Marathon ATV Advisory Committee. Gordon Linfield, Victor Kowalski, Dale Schwandt,
do show up in droves. The more people through, the better for our travel club. I think go to Europe.
I don't know exactly where.
Students to Europe.
It's London,
France.
Paris,
Yeah.
and
Hurst.
I was
Please do come out and support the Haunted Hallway.
Sorry, if you want to share that. Efforts for the Haunted Hallways program. And Councillor Lake's going to be there dressed all up and scary.
I am actually.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a couple of motions here in regards to. These were passed back from the FIT program. Where do you have them on the agenda, Louise?
We have the budget consultation first.
Yeah,
Under,
under unfinished business, but then under new business, you have these.
Budget consultation.
Okay. Finished business, budget consultation discussion. Okay, Mr. Huska?
I believe.
Just the dates I think we're discussing. Chuck, you want to come down and give highlights of the dates? Thanks. No, I was looking for the FIT under the agenda. Okay. Oh, yeah.
In previous years, we used to have called budget at marathon.ca. We invite residents to drop off written submissions to town hall. Print, radio, and the internet.
Chuck and that? Councilor Lake?
You know what, just a comment. I remember the bicycling community coming out to one budget meeting and saying we need wider shoulders for biking in and out of town. And on the next paving project we had, which was the road into town, we got it done. I think it's worth people's time to come out to the budget setting decisions. It's when you get your say more than any other time. So I certainly appreciate that you're giving some different kind of ways for people to get us information, but I really encourage residents to take advantage of that. It actually makes an impact, I think, pretty immediately.
Yes, for sure, Councilor Lake. I mean, we just submitted an application for OSIF top-up funding to do a major construction job in 2017. If we're successful, that'll be a big part of our budget, as well as as you know, we had the youth presentation for the sports park to talk about enhancing the youth sports park. We put an application in for that for an additional $37,500 to enhance that. So if we're successful in that application, we'll have $75,000 to contribute to that program. So there's opportunities there for involvement and engagement with the public, but we need them to come out and get engaged and give us some ideas. And you're absolutely right. you know, when people talk about some of the concerns they have around the community, we listen, we do listen, believe it or not, and we do help and try to make changes within the budget as long as we can fit it within a fiscally responsible budget that we present to the ratepayers each and every year, so we don't have to increase the level of taxation, because that's always a sore point with individuals when we talk about budgets, about how much is coming directly out of their pocket, and we try to keep that at a balance that's fair and equitable for all. So, anything else, Chuck?
No.
Good. Thank you for that then. Okay, I do have a motion here that these are in regards to the FIT program that council had previously talked about, and these are just the final resolutions that we need to be approved. These are for the I'll just read the therefore. Now therefore be resolved that Council of Town of Marathon supports the construction and operation of projects wherein the Town of Marathon. This resolution's sole purpose is to enable the participants in the FIT program to receive priority points under the FIT program and may not be used for any purpose other than form of municipal approval in relation to the application of projects. For any other purpose, the resolution shall expire 12 months after the adoption of council. So, with that being said, any mover and second to put on the floor. Moved by Councilor Higgs, seconded by Councilor Fox. Any questions of those?
Somebody want to jog my memory about this issue?
Sure. It was a microfit program that we had talked about applying for with a company and putting in a process for a plan.
Yep, got it.
Now, this is
Okay.
not approved, nothing's approved, just is the process to start the application process to be
And
submitted.
this is a giant
Yes.
solar. It's not a microfit. This is
It's a FIT
the
program.
big fit one. So it would be multiple
That's right. And as
solar panels.
we talked about prior to the councilman and the Ontario government clawed back 1,000 megawatts of microfit programs, but this is not falling in that category.
Okay.
And this is just the process to get it going. So there is 3 copies, so I'm going to have the same mover and seconder on all 3 copies, if that's fair. Okay, so Councillor Lake, Councillor Fox for all 3. And then, if there's no other questions, I'll call a question. All in favor?
And just
Oh,
to
sorry,
clarify,
Councillor, yeah.
this is not to okay any project.
No.
This is simply to start investigating.
Let's put the application in for the microfit program, the FIT program,
Yeah.
to make sure that we will be in the queue when it's available to get approved by the provincial government.
Okay.
So with that being said, any other questions? Call a question, all in favor?
Yep.
Carried, thank you much. Okay. I'll sign these after, so put those aside. Councillor,
There's a second one there.
oh, they're
There's
different?
2 separate, yes.
Oh, they are? Okay, sorry. I thought they were all 3 were the same, so. Okay, second one is here is that therefore be resolved that the Council of Town of Marathon exempts the project of lands as described in from any of all of the residential, commercial, and industrial land use restrictions identified in sections 23E, 23F, 23G, and 23H of the FIT Rules, version 5, and that the resolution's sole purpose is to provide municipal exemption from the above noted specific residential, commercial, industrial land use restrictions under the FIT programs and may not be used for the purpose of any other form of municipal approval in relation to the application of the project for any other purpose. So in simple layman's terms, we're basically exempting the properties that were identified without getting into the residential, commercial, and multi-purpose facility lots. Moved by Councilor Lake, second by Councilor Fox. Any questions of that?
Okay, so this is just a preliminary to exempt out those parcels of land that may be considered.
Yep, same thing.
They will still have to go through the zoning bylaws and the reclassification if and when the project proceeds?
Yeah, because see, this project is at the size of that, it will not be a rooftop solar
Yeah.
project, it'll be a land-based solar program that will be identified within the vacant lands within the municipality that will go forward with Amos developing a plan forward once their approval is accepted.
But once the plan is put forward, we would be able to look at that parcel and say whether we agree or not.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Your worship, just one more thing too. Mr. Skorczynski did have a chance to review all the documents before he left, and he was in favor of the 2 resolutions going forward.
And I think from the last discussion at council, we're fully in support of it because it's the process to get it started and have the microfit, the FIT
FIT.
program get initiated into the process. So that was the key. And once all that, just like any other item that we approve will go forward, we'll have the opportunities to discuss location, size, and relationship with this project going forward. Anything else?
So just for, it's funny, when student counselors come on board, I always forget all the acronyms we use.
Okay.
The FIT program stands for...
Feed-in tariff.
So if we produce energy, someone has to buy it, the Ontario government.
Right.
So it's a project that would allow us to produce solar energy and sell it to the government.
OPG.
Put it on the grid.
OPG, Ontario Power Generation, will then purchase it and put it into the system and sell it back to us at a discounted price of 3 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yep. We use a lot of acronyms.
That's a joke. So sorry for the student counselors there. We've been arguing the cost of energy for many, many years, and so.
There's one coming up.
Yeah. No, that's actually been waived, so,
Okay.
oh, you mean in the resolutions, yeah.
Resolution.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, with that being said, with the mover and second, Councilor Fox, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And I do apologize to the student council for going fast through that, but it's one of those resolutions that was already previously discussed, it's just the final formality of it. And there's a lot of understanding in the resolution. There's no sense taking the time right now to argue the pros and cons of it. We'll give you an overview as best we can afterwards. So I'll get all three of these carried through right now as well, from the same mover and seconder. Thank you. Okay. Okay, a request has been received from AMO supporting a supported resolution regarding the closing of the municipal fiscal gap. The council hereby supports the resolution received from AMO regarding closing of the municipal fiscal gap, and further that a copy of the motion and be forwarded to the individual listed on the originating resolution. And as you can see, if you want to go down to the infrastructure, number of challenges that facing the community, we seeking that the rise of the property taxes, user fees by inflation rates will still be, it's crazy because we'll never get to where the fiscal gap is going to be. So what they're saying, AMO is saying they want the province to step up to the plate and increase their portion of the funding model. I need a mover and a second to put on the floor before we have first question. So moved by Councilor Debussy, second by Councilor Fox. Any questions? Councilor Debussy.
We had argued long and hard that we wanted stable funding. And they answered our request that we get stable funding, yet there's still money set aside for the special projects. Is AMO changing the tack now, or is it just Grey County, or the issue? Because we are, I mean, I'd like to see it past 2018, that's where we're guaranteed, but again, they're only committed to the term of government. But for the next foreseeable future, we have a steady transfer of funds to work on infrastructure projects. And I know the long-term debt that we would like to hold is over 15 to 20 years, so it would be nice if we could stabilize that funding. But at least we're moving in the right direction. Do they now want to, AMO want to change the formula, or are they just saying they need to put more money into it?
If you look at this, the third whereas,
Yeah.
and on the originating resolution,
The 3.6 billion.
yeah, there's a definite shortfall within the infrastructure, and that's what's identified by AMO to have the provincial government, and specifically the federal government, come to the table.
Federal
and
government for sure.
Well, both, but the Fed for sure, to identify a sustainable funding moving forward so that we know that as we look at our PSAB and our infrastructure deficits, right, and the asset management plans that we've all been directed by the provincial government to identify where our assets are, our shortfall is huge. It'll get, once all these asset managements are completed, we'll see a deficit of probably $10 billion, never mind 3.5.
The issue of the second where or the third whereas, I guess, where the 10-year project makes perfect sense. Because we can, if we had stable funding from the province and the federal government for 10 years, we could commit to infrastructure projects, right? So I agree with that. I'm just a little worried or a little concerned. If it's a matter that there's not enough money in the pot, I agree 100%, but it's got to come from somewhere. So is this something that AMO is directing or the board, or is it, how did NOMA feel about this thing?
NOMA is fully supportive of this, and this is directed from AMO, from all the municipalities through their board of directors.
Yeah.
So they're fully on board, and as you know, I think we're 2019, right, Chuck? We've got secured funding from the Ontario government right now. The federal gas tax is still identified as 219 as well. The permanent, the federal gas tax is permanent, so that's there, and then the Ontario gas on 2019. So if we can have additional funding, secured funding, over and above that, that's what AMO and
And
NOMA and
I'm
everybody's
fully
looking for.
supportive of it.
So that, you're right, we can plan a long-term, 10-year strategic plan saying, here's where we're gonna get our money from, here's where we're gonna put into the money from our local tax base.
Okay, I agree then.
Okay? Any other questions? Good? So with the mover and seconders' permission, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. You guys get all that?
Promise not to,
That's okay. This is, AMO is an Ontario Municipal Association. It represents all the municipalities in Ontario. And NOMA, the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association, represents the 37 municipalities in Northwestern Ontario. So the two bodies of governing models that argue with the Ontario government for representation for the municipalities. And there's 454 municipalities in Ontario.
excluding Toronto.
So excluding the City of Toronto, which has its own act, the City of Toronto Act, because they're such a big beast, so. But it's a good organization, AMO, represents us and fights hard for us through the provincial government.
And that's the conference that we're hoping you two
The
will go
NOMA
to.
conference, yeah,
Is the
to
NOMA.
have you attend in the spring for sure. Okay, next one up, I have a motion here from the council. The council hereby supports the resolution received from Grey County regarding hydro, and further that a copy of the motion be forwarded to the individual listed on the originating resolution. Mover and second to put on the floor. Moved by Councillor Fox, second by Councillor Debussy. Questions? Councillor Debussy.
So unlike Northern Ontario, do rural municipalities get any kind of breaks on their hydro? And I know it's not significant in Northern Ontario nonetheless, but is that their concern, that they are not treated the same?
So, as we know, that under the small urban municipalities, OSUM, and then, of course, now with the new announcement starting January 1st, 2017, the Ontario government has released a paper saying that rural and northern municipalities will receive 8% right off the top of the tax portion of the hydro bill, as well as an additional 12% on the overall, the full bill. So that equates to 20%, which I'm not a mathematician, but there's no way that ever equates to 20%, but we'll see how that works out starting January 1st. So that won't be reflective until your new February 1st bill, your February bill. Then from there, we will see what the benefits are going forward. And as you know, the OEB, the Ontario Energy Board, did not increase the rates as of November the 1st, 2016, going forward to at least May of 17. So with that being said, we should see a reduction quite substantially in Northern Ontario, us specifically, of at least up to 20% starting January 1st, 2017. So all good.
Yeah, so does Grey County not be
They're-
only a rural municipality?
They're rural. They fall into
They
this,
fall
but
within it.
it's a different mechanism there because they're going to go into, now the government, and I've tried everything in my powers to try to get the breakdown, but they got a new formula coming out with a different grid system, which is now we know we're on low, mid, and high peak times. They're coming out with just a two-tier system. It's been talked about, it's been built, but I can't find any information on it. So it's after 600 kilowatt hours. There's a 7 to 7 p.m. and 7 to 7 a.m. System, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So once we get more information, I'll try to share it with council. But we're looking, and it's a mess right now. But as far as us, I think we're going to see a reduction January 1st, 2017, of at least 20%, supposedly. Councillor Lake.
So for me, when I read this, my worry is, remember, it's the same area, part of Ontario that was trying to get the Northern Health Credit for travel to hospitals. If that money's been set aside to support northern municipalities, we water it down by including the mid-north, which doesn't face the same sort of infrastructure problems that we have. So I'm not, in my reading of it, maybe I'm reading it wrong, I'm not actually supportive of this request.
Okay, so what is some of the discussions, and there's still a lot of unknowns right now, but in some of the discussions that I've had the opportunity to take part in, a lot of the communities, rural residents as well as northern rural and northern, are areas where they're not serviced by natural gas.
Right.
So Grey County and areas down there, there's a lot of areas that are not serviced by natural gas. So they have no option to diversify their cost of energy, and similar to what we're faced with, right? So that's what I think a lot of it's being looked at right now in regards to the discounts. Until there's availability of the pipe or LNG systems, that's what the government's looking at, the rate reduction for rural and northern communities. Councillor Fox?
Can I ask, are they reducing, so the 8% is coming off the taxes?
Tax.
So that's after
Well, if you can get clarification there, you can share with the rest of the council, that'd be great, but that's what I was conveyed to as 20% reduction January 1st, but like I said, if I called Mr. Hogue up and asked him to figure it all out, he'd have a hard time figuring out the 20% reduction as well. So we'll see what comes out. I think there's a good opportunity for myself and Councillor Fox to pose that question to the ministers in Thunder Bay this week, and to see if we can get some clarity in regards to the reduction. But it's supposed to be 20%. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day, anything is better than what we've had, and we're going in the right direction. So some of the arguments we've made over the last year and a half seems to be listening. And they put up, like I say, moratorium on some of the microfit programs to stop spending some silly dollars. So hopefully we'll see what comes out of this over the next year or so. Okay? Okay, with that being said, does student council have any question on that hydro?
No.
No?
Wait till you get your own hydro.
Your parents might have some questions.
Okay, with that being said, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, up next we have a request been received from NOMA in regards to this support. This was discussed at our last meeting, but this council hereby supports the Thunder Bay Symphony Orchestra providing contribution to the symphony, its drive, sustainability, and the amount of, and further that the contribution be taken from council donation budget. And as you can read, this was brought to Ken Boschkoff at the last fall conference of NOMA. And he brought it up for the discussion about the fact that the symphony orchestra was hurting right now. They were looking at all kinds of opportunities of fundraising, and so he's asking for councils to support this this cause that he is now a director of on the board. So I'll put it on the floor. You guys can decide what you'd like to do in this regard. So moved by Councillor Fox, Councillor Lake, and second by Councillor Boucher. Any questions, Councillor Lake?
You know what? And I love the symphony. I think it's an amazing opportunity to bring that kind of music to a community that's not going to have it usually. But we had Marjorie House come here and ask for dollars for people, and we had to say no because of budget constraints. I can't see my way clear to say we would donate to the Symphony Orchestra and not to some of our local folks in need. So it would be a no for me.
So anybody else? Councillor Boucher?
I think there's some differentiation between that, because Marjorie House is funded by wholly by a government agency. I am not sure about the financing of the symphony, but they pretty well have to rely on the goodwill of patrons and whatnot. We do a lot for sports, we do a lot for recreation, we do very little for culture as a whole in Northern Ontario. And I'm not saying that we donate hundreds or whatever, but I do consider that we consider it. But what I would ask other people or the community is to get behind a project like this also. So if you can find it within yourself to donate to Thunder Bay Symphony itself, I encourage and I would welcome that kind of participation. I agree that this is kind of outside our purview, but personally, I would like to support them and I encourage other citizens to do it. But I do agree with you that it's something that really is somewhat outside our purview. If they come to the marathon like they are planning a tour, we can do whatever we can to facilitate, to help out, to host an open house on their behalf or whatever it may be. And those kind of actions I'm more than willing to do as part of the community.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Fox?
Just they were in, I believe, last fall and played to a crowd of, 60, 70 people. It was an excellent presentation. I know myself, I enjoyed it, and I would be prepared to support it to a certain extent too.
Okay. Councillor Lake?
You know what? It's so funny. The history in the community is that we used to have an entertainment series. I think certainly Manitowoc still does it. That there was an infrastructure within the community to support the arts, and it was thriving. I'm not sure who the last kind of people running that program, but again, I think there's an opportunity if people are looking to support arts and culture in Marathon, that the entertainment series has been successful. Certainly anybody who is interested, I think council would find ways to support that sort of community endeavor.
Okay, anybody else? So I would recommend council look at the opportunity of buying a couple or 4 tickets and offering it up to our staff.
Oh, that's good.
So our staff could take advantage of maybe a draw at the Christmas gathering. We do our staff day at Christmas, and having a draw for 2 to 4 tickets. Somebody can contact either Barry or Ken, find out what the cost of tickets are, what the rough date in March that they're planning to come through. And that way there we are supporting it, but we're also encouraging our staff to participate in a local event. And that way there we're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone, recognizing our staff, and we're also encouraging them to participate in sympathy. Is that fair and equitable?
Yes.
So we'll bring this back, if you don't mind, Louise, in just regards to the cost of the tickets and when the availability is, and we'll bring it back sometime in November. So I won't table it, I'll just put it aside for November. Is that fair?
And
Okay.
also find out if there's something we can host on their behalf.
Yeah, and I
Fundraise locally for their.
I think what Ken said clearly at the meeting was that he wanted us to promote it locally when they do come. So just more of an, like you just said, Ray, Councilor Lake, saying, get people out in the community and go out and participate. And that way there, the Symphony is able to generate dollars that they need. So if we can get that information, we'll bring it back. And I think that's a good opportunity to recognize our staff, and they can participate in going to the orchestra that evening.
And making note of history also, we also, before my time, had a marching band, right, that played around the country. So
Yeah.
there is a history of supporting, arts and culture, I guess, in there.
Yep, for sure. Okay, so we'll bring that back in November and have an opportunity to support it as well as recognize our staff. So I do have a motion here that council hereby proclaim the week of November the 6th through 12th, 2016 as Crime Prevention Week in and for the town of Marathon. And further that a copy of this proclamation be posted in the town's various social media and also social media sites. Moved by Councillor Lake, second by Councillor Tabushi. Thank you. And as you know, Marathon is a very safe community. We do have issues from time to time. Our police officers are out and about, and we encourage anybody in the community to stop and talk to them. And if you have any concerns, questions, please contact your detachment commander, Paul Mischik, and Paul is always open and available, as well as any officer. Just talk to them and just have that communication level great there. So keep our community a safe community. And we will post this at various places throughout the community. So, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. And prior to announcing the adjournment, there is the calendar parking will take effect as November the 1st, 2016. So hopefully we won't see any snow till at least January or February, but just in case there is, do not park your vehicle on the streets that are identified with the calendar parking process, and as well as Councillor Stone made mention that Halloween is coming up on the 31st. It's a week away, and we want to encourage everybody to have a safe and enjoyable evening, but also be safe out there. So with that being said, I do have a request for adjournment at the hour of 7:45 p.m. So moved by Councillor Lake, second by Councillor Fox. Thank you and good night.
Good night.